Chronicles TV on air. We are now live in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to another episode of Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. In the previous episode, we did those Skulkin Brothers thing, and now we may have to end up going into another summation examination. If you're hyped for today's episode, make sure that like button is supposed to reach the channel, as we're gonna get into this next. Why did you use your head again? God damn it. Here we go again. Let's assert our right. When you have a limited impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. That's my line. I wrote that for Hurley. How dare he use it against us? Don't worry, Iris. I don't think we're finished yet. There's still more to this case than we realize. There must be one thing I'm absolutely certain of. Gina didn't shoot Mr. Winnybake. That's beyond any doubt. Very well. We will proceed with the second summation examination of the day. Mr. Foreman, are you and the other jurors ready? Garrett Squadron is primed and ready for action, sir. Very good. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we will each explain on what grounds you have now determined the defendant to be guilty. Here we go again, boys. The jurors' contentions. Once a rogue, always a rogue, I say. A different breed to us law-abiding citizens. As only 2 bullets were found at the scene, I would say the whole case is done and dusted. You don't need a stereoscope to see the truth here. Every which way you look at, it was pickpocket. I never imagined that simple operation would cause me such grief. We'll ask him. You accused the type of theft of previous day. I can see I'm a busy day ahead. I'm a ballistics expert. I have seen many shootings. There is nothing I do not know about guns. It could seem there's a little remaining room for doubt. I have to admit, I was rather bold over the argument, but forward by the chap and back. But when that fell apart like a house of cards, I saw that I'd jolly well be hoodwinked. Well, no more. The whole courtroom is turning against me. It's not fair, Iris. That prosecutor is being mean. Just because Jean's done something she couldn't have done in the past doesn't make her a murderer. Here we go again. Allow me to savor this fruity vintage while I savor the spectacle of your fruitless debate on the matter. Here's to the truth coming out eventually. That's enough preamble. Counsel, proceed with the summation examination. Yes, my lord. Here we go again. Once a rogue, always a rogue. Law-abiding citizen. 2 bullets. Blah blah. Let's ask him what happened. Hold it! Would you please stop muttering about things that have nothing to do with the trial, sir? The defendant's life is on the line here. Well, the thing is, I couldn't really say that it has nothing to do with this trial, to be honest. Huh? I mean, there's no question that the man was shot, but the bullet had simply vanished from his stomach. It's quite inexplicable, don't you think? I almost don't want to ask, but this surgery you've been wondering about all this time, you were operating on... What was the fellow's name now? Hurlich? No, Herlock? No, Herlock? Herlock Sholmes, by any chance? Yes, good lord. It was the Herlock fellow. What? You're the surgeon that operated Mr. Sholmes? That's right. Using the very latest anesthesia techniques, I might add. It was a fairly major operation, I can tell you. This is crazy. Let me see. The fellow was brought in not long after midnight, if I remember correctly. They said he'd been shot by some criminal or other, so I opened him up like a shot. But the funny thing is, I went over his insides with a fine-tooth comb and couldn't find the bullet anywhere. So I'm afraid I had to throw up on my hands and just stitch the fellow back up. I hate to state the obvious, but... Yes? Surely that's because the bullet is still at the scene of the shooting. The counsel for the defense is correct. It is clearly shown in the photographic print. The bullet in the Skulkin Brothers the bullet that the skull virus fired the Sholmes is his head and stomach region, blah blah. Then exit his body and lodge into the shop wall where the calendar was hanging by the door. I think you'll find it quite simple if you just put the problem three-dimensionally. Ah, who do you think I am, son? Well, juror number 4 is about the best I can do. As soon as I saw the wounds in the man's stomach, I flipped him over. Like a pancake? Are you saying that you checked his back? Of course I did, and there was no trace of injury, no sign that the bullet had left the body at all. What? That's the point! The only logical conclusion was that the bullet was still somewhere in the man's innards. Which is exactly why I said that's why I said about slicing him up. I'm still none the wiser even now. How many times do I have to say it? Can somebody please explain how it happened? Can somebody please solve the mystery? It's almost as much of a mystery as how this jury was put together. Then the mystery of where the bullet ended up is infuriating. Where's the expert when you need one? Hold it! Mr. Sholmes searches on the jury. I've experienced some coincidence recently, but this is ridiculous. I'm surprised as anyone. But there's no question that Mr. Sholmes was shot. Well, that's what the police told me when they brought him in. How bad were his injuries, Doctor? He was in bad way. He had lost a huge amount of blood, you know. And I suspect he was shot at a quite close range too, because the skin was badly burned around the point of entry. Burned? As I said, I flipped the fellow over and examined his back, but there was no sign of an exit wound, which is why I thought I better locate the log and pop it out. And yet you say you found no bullet inside the patient? Well, I wouldn't have done, would I? Because it's in the wall of the pawnbrokers. But how did it get there? I need someone to solve this mystery before it drives me insanity. If only there were some experts in ballistics who could help, even if the... Ooh. So we have a disappearing bullet on our hands. I think I have an idea what to do. I know what to do. Hold up. I know what to do on this one. You need a ballistics expert, right? Him and the Russian. Objection. Those two statements clearly contradict the idea that all I do is put jurors against each other. Oh, ballistics expert. Pit. On the night in question, Mr. Sholmes was shot by one of the Skulkin brothers. But since there was no sign of an exit wound on his back, we must assume the bullet didn't pass through him. However, no bullet was found lodged in Mr. Sholmes' body either. Furthermore, a bullet was found lodged in the wall of the shop where Mr. Sholmes was shot. Juror number 6. Hello, my name is Violet. Pleased to meet you. This apparent contradiction in the facts that is clearly troubling juror number 4. Are you able to explain the mystery? I have seen very similar situation in Motherland. It was night. There was a blizzard. I was running away along mountain road and freezing cold. Golly! The snow was piling high on both sides of the road. It was very narrow and dangerous. My pursuers had hunting rifles and they were on dog sleds. Mental note, don't ask too many questions. I was shot from behind and I fell down in snow. And this situation was very similar to what I hear today from Doctor. They could not find bullet in my body. And no sign of, how do you say, exit wound? And where did the bullet go? Bullet never hit me. Well, if it never hit you, why did you fall down? Well, it hit frozen wall of ice very close to my side. What? One small piece, very sharp, broke away from a lump of ice and pierced my body. It made deep wound that looked like bullet wound. Good gracious. Of course, piece of ice quickly melt inside me, and that is the solution to the mystery of disappearing bullet. But that doesn't answer the question at all. A shooting happened in a pawnbroker shop, not some snowy mountain road in another country. But he's saying it's a similar experience. Just an idea, but we might not be looking at exactly the same scenario here. You know, where exactly was Hurley shot again? Well, according to the report, in his stomach. Sort of around the area, I think. Well, that's precisely where he always wears a little pouch on his belt. A pouch? Actually, I might have noticed something like that. Yes, a pouch. It's where he keeps 3 glass vials of very glass chemicals that he uses for investigations. What? Really? Doctor, where's the pouch Mr. Sholmes was wearing? Well, the fellow had nothing like that on his person when he arrived at the hospital, as far as I remember. If I may. Lord Von Zykes? While I realize it is forbidden for prosecution to interject during a summation examination, I should inform the defense that I have the pouch in question in the antechamber outside the courtroom. Sorry? As I understand it, when the police arrived on the scene and found Mr. Sholmes injured, they removed the pouch in order to assess the wound. Ah, thank goodness! I thought I was getting forgetful for the moment. Since then, it has been in my safekeeping along with all other evidence relating to the case. I can personally vouch for the fact that it has not been touched since the incident occurred. Very well. While extremely unconventional during a summation examination, I must demand the prosecution present the item in question with all speed. Bring forth Mr. Harmlock Sholmes' pouch. I see. This is the pouch worn by Mr. Sholmes on the night in question, is it? Look at that! One of the files is broken and the leather around it's scorched black. It's almost as if the file exploded. Exploded? So, that night, the bullet from the Skulkin Brothers gun struck Mr. Sholmes' pouch. And it was the glass file exploding that caused the fellow's injury. This bullet did not penetrate victim, but was deflected into a wall of shop. A delightful complex aroma. Well, it would appear one mystery has been solved, at least. Though it has no bearing on the truth of this case. The bungling and burgling brothers shot the detective and the accused shot the pawnbroker. The pertinent facts of the case remains unaltered. But at least the mystery is solved. I can sleep easy tonight. Thank you, young men. Thank you very much. Glad I could help. Due to its bearing on the conundrum just solved, the court will sequester this gruffly pouch as evidence. Hurley pouch isn't gruffy. Now, the summation exhibition. It would appear the defense is somewhat struggling to alter opinion. Please, my lord. A little more time. After all, that's a new piece of evidence. It could be a valuable clue, and you can't afford to overlook anything, Renosuke. There's still a way to turn this around, somehow. I'm sure of it. Shut up. Back it up. Yikes. It's really scorched badly just here. Oh, the strap is broken, look. It must be where the bullet hit then. Let me see. The bullet's there. What the? Iris, look. Behind where the broken file was, do you see it? That's the Skulkin Brothers bullet. What a stroke of luck that it hit the pouch. This is an amazing discovery. What this means is, there were 3 bullets fired at Whitney Biggs that night. We found exactly what that juror was talking about. The 3rd bullet. It's time to press the juror again, I think. One, 2. You don't need a seriously see the truth here. If way you look at it, it was that pickpocket. So 1, 2 was fired the same. I would say the whole case is done and dusted. Once a rogue, always what I say. A different breed to lost by citizens. Okay. Hold it! It's the number of bullets that has you convinced. Only 2 bullets were fired, and the 2 guns that fired them have been examined by the police. When the parlor maid asks me how many are invited for dinner, I always tell her to count the table settings. Well, that's logical, I suppose. Although, yes? Sometimes after dining, crockery does go missing. 1 or 2 guests rather like to take fine china. Does your employer dine with thieves? So I suppose. If there was another bullet somewhere of which we are unaware, I have to reconsider my position. A third bullet somewhere on the scene. Could that be possible? Allow me to show you then. The third bullet. Oh, I'm about to say, if I press A on that thing.
Take that!
Here it is. We discovered it just now. Yes, on the night in question in Windy Bank's pawnbrokery, another bullet was fired. What is this new trickery, you Nipponese conjurer? Where did you find that bullet? It was lodged inside Mr. Shone's pouch. What? This pouch was removed from around Mr. Shone's waist before he was taken to the hospital. And since then, it was touched by no one. Oh, do you mean to say? The shot fired by the Skulking Brothers that night? Yes, as your lordship has surmised, it hit the pouch. But that makes no shit whatsoever. We already know where the whereabouts of bullet fired at the Shones. It's clearly visible with the photograph print. Oh. 2 guns for the scene have already been submitted into courtroom as evidence. Yes, that of Mr. Windybank and the belongings to the Skulking Brothers. And the examination of both guns revealed that only a single bullet had been fired from each. But that must mean... That's right. We now know that on the night in question, 3 bullets were fired. However, only 2 bullets were fired from the guns recovered from the crime scene. And until the inconsistency is somehow explained, we cannot and must not pass judgment. We struck the vampire. Let's go. Order, order. While this summation examination remains incomplete, the court has been presented with new facts. Facts that would appear to shake the very foundations upon which the case against the defendant has been built. As if it is my prerogative in this situation, I hereby temporarily suspend the summation examination. Why, Jupiter! What? Bailiff, bring the witnesses back to the stand at once. What does this mean? And we got time. Witnesses? Governor! Were you listening to proceedings while the defense carried out the summation examination? We was, Governor, we was! Perhaps we can dispense with the tedious preamble. Simply answer this one question. A third bullet has been identified at the scene of the crime. What do you make of that? Make of it, Gov? I don't make nothing of it. Is it one of yours? Grubbity, not a chance. In that case, did you have an accomplice? What? What? Never! The Skulking Brothers work alone. It's just the 2 of us. That's our trademark. How soon we forget poor Soki. Only 2 of the bullets from the crime scene originated from the firearms we have in evidence. The third bullet was fired from another gun. Where is it? Limey! That's, head scratcher. Counsel for the defense? Yes. I should like to hear your thoughts regarding these new developments. The third bullet and the mysterious missing firearm for whence it came. Thinking back over the testimony we've heard and all the evidence we've seen, I think I'm starting to form a picture of what really happened that night. My lord, I think it's clear what this third bullet tells us about the Skulking Brothers. They had a secret accomplice, they had another gun. On that night on the Windy Bank's pawnbrokery, the brothers must have been working with a third man. The witnesses are clearly doing their best to cover up the existence of their accomplice. But the evidence all points to the fact there was someone else present, someone carrying a gun.
Objection!
An accomplice, you say? Pig's will. These protracted proceedings have already forced us to endure 2 summation examinations. Yet in all that time, there has been not a murmur of a third man. If this apparently wrath-like being exists, Wraith, the court must show hard evidence. Without it, this fantasy will be crushed. The prosecution demands answers on 2 counts. Firstly, proof, evidence. that is the accomplice was ever at the scene of the crime. And secondly, the identity of the spurious character. The Skulkins are lying, I know that. But how can I ascertain the identity of the person they're hiding? Well, counsel? I'm supposed to prove the existence of this accomplice and reveal the person's identity even. In response to the prosecution's demands, my lord, defense is ready to present answers. The defense is ready. I believe I can provide all the answers the prosecution demands. So, my Nipponese friend, despite the swimming eyes, you seem to think you have something to say. This promises to be interesting. I have to push forward now. There's no other option. I need to use every single piece of evidence available to me if it will make a difference. In that case, counsel, I would ask you to present the evidence without delay. On the line of question, in the moments leading up to the death of the victim, what proof have you there was a third intruder in the present scene of the crime? In which, I'm assuming it's the calendar, the blood thing. The blood was not Sholmes, it was someone else. 1, 2, 3, blood samples. The evidence is right here in the portfolio. By Jove, the portfolio again, is it? Do you expect the court to rifle through your papers itself? Be more specific. You claim one of those blood samples proves the presence of the third intruder. Well, which one is it? This one.
Take that!
What am I looking at here? There appears to be some green paint or such like around the bullet hole in the middle of the calendar. That's a blood stain, my lord. A blood stain. Green blood. Curious even for you. Is the court to understand that the intruder was some unhuman creature? It's something developed by Mr. Homework Sholmes. By the great detective? New invention, stop. Not yet appearing stories, stop. Is this, you see? It doesn't have a name yet, though. This fogger sprays a chemical that reacts with the different chemical elements in people's blood to change its color. Different elements of people's blood? Yes, everyone's blood is slightly different, you see? Because it's made of different elements. But so by seeing what color is changed so to you can tell in which flash whose blood it is. Oh, that brings a whole extra dimension to looking at blood. Talk of blood in courtroom, stop. Very exciting, stop. As an example, this one shows the blood victim as Mr. Windybank. Ah, striking blue. Yes, so you see, the green color of this bloodstain on the calendar shows that somebody else was shot in the main part of the shop. Now, hold fire there, young man. Could be from some unrelated incident, couldn't it? Nope, it's not unrelated. The date showing the calendar is the date on which Mr. Windybank was killed. My golly! Therefore, we can assume that whoever was shot on the same day. Then whose blood was it? Well, the Skulkin brothers in the stand don't appear to be suffering from any gunshot injuries. Which means it must be blood of somebody else. The third intruder, in fact.
Objection!
Whose identity the court is still waiting to hear. You can't delay this any longer, my learned friend. Who is this alleged third intruder?
Take that!
This man's name is Eggert Benedict. Eggert Benedict? Who on earth are you talking about, counsel? He paid a visit to Windybank's pawnbrokery on the afternoon before the incident took place. When the accused attempted to deceive the pawnbroker into releasing the article into her possession. That's right. The man identified by the defense, Mr. Eggert Benedict, then attempted to take the article from the defendant by force. I really don't want to say all this. Can we move on now? But the man says too, so we yet to find the second one. Inspector Gregson was there at the time and can attest to what happened. In the end, it was the inspector himself who took the disc. Can you corroborate this account, Inspector? Yes, my lord. That's more or less what happened. And in the interest of being thorough, I asked Wendy Beck for a print showing the fellow. Taken from his red-handed recorder, Governess. Yes, that's him, talking to Mr. Windybeck that morning. And you claim this man is the brother's accomplice? Well, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin? Never seen the geezer before in my life. On me life, Gov. I mean life. Never seen him. Well, somewhat unsurprisingly, it appears our witnesses disagree with this assertion. I'm sure your lordship recalls my learned Nipponese friend's actual assertion, which was that he could prove the identity of the alleged accomplice. Yes, and I can. Then show us the evidence. I agree. We must see proof the clean-cut gentleman in the photograph is the filthy criminal you see. Please tell me it's the disc. This is the last piece of evidence. I've had feeling that something has been missing in this trial from the very start. But now I'm going to drag it kicking and screaming into the courtroom. Are you ready to present your answer to court then, counsel? Yes, my lord. The defense will present the evidence now. Proves that the man's picture in the photograph was in fact the person struck with the third bullet. I'm just saying this because this.
Take that!
As I mentioned before, on the afternoon of the day in the question, the defendant attempted deceitfully, admittedly, to reclaim the disc from the Windybanks, which is when the aforementioned Egbert Benedict appeared in the scene, I believe. This man then attempted to purloin the article from the defendant's possession, no? That's correct, my lord. I myself was present at the time. I was following this, that a minor incident occurred. Here's the thing. He got it. She took it back. Then it scratched his freaking fingers. Oh, I didn't even see that. The moment that he was trying to walk off with it, I didn't even see it. I didn't even pay attention when that freaking hole in the freaking thing. Being a music box disc, it has countless small bump-sharp metal protrusions over the surface. The protrusions cause Mr. Benedict's finger to bleed, and the resulting smear of blood is still visible on the disc now. Goodness, a bloodstain, is it? My assistant and I have just analyzed the bloodstain here in this very courtroom. Using my trusty fogger gun. Yes, and we added the results to this portfolio. I say, it's green. Exactly the same color as the blood around the calendar. The evidence is conclusive. The man calling himself Mr. Edgar Benedict, who was in Windybeck earlier in the day, is the accomplice who was present at the scene of the crime that same night. So there was someone else. Look at those two brothers now. They're sweating buckets. Boy, who are you talking about? It's boiling here. My lord, it is the opinion of the defense that Mr. Edgar Benedict should be summoned to the courtroom to testify. It would certainly seem that we can ill afford to ignore the gentleman's apparent presence. This has gone on long enough now. The flagrant ignorance of the mechanics of law. Sherlock Holmes, you say? Yes, I've heard that name. The protagonist in a series of short stories for the vulgar cases of God of detection, or some such. Throw it. And now you employ a chemical substance devised with a fantastical persona in the highest court in the land? Do you expect us to take you seriously? The samples made by the plaything are not fit to be called evidence. So the bloodstain turned a shade of green. What of it? Here's to you successfully proving that no other blood in the world would turn the same color. Well... And pray, do not even think of suggesting that we should take Mr. Sholmes' word for it. Is he right? Is Mr. Sholmes' concussion a load of rubbish? I don't know. I mean, he's a great detective. What are you talking about? We can't let him get away with that. I knew it. It would come to this. Of course, Mr. Sholmes' invention is going to be recognized by any official body. But what other choice did I have? I'm just remembering what Father Christmas over there said before. Judge? About how he was temporarily suspending the summation examination? In other words, the examination isn't over yet, is it?
Good grief! What did you just say, young girl?
And in summation examination, the decision as to whether or not the trial continues is in the hands of the 6 jurors, isn't it? So the way I see it, it doesn't matter what certain of other people think of Hurley's invention. At least, not for now.
Yes, she's right. Young lady, you have quite the devious mind.
It really just comes down to one thing. Whether these ladies and gentlemen of the jury are convinced by what you say, Runo. Is that about right, would you say? Or did I misunderstand something?
Unbelievable. Mr. Sholmes' partner is a force to be reckoned with.
Iris Wilson, sharpshooter.
After the shrewd process of the situation from an entirely unexpected source, it must be acknowledged that the previous summation examination has yet to reach its conclusion. This is absurd. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court now looks to you for the final rulings of this matter.
Final.
As proud citizens of Her Majesty Britain, I'm sure you will come to fair and just conclusions. So then, state your final decision. Turn, please.
Guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Not guilty.
Use your head. Such is the court crowned the summation examination.
Objection.
My lord, with all due respect, this is an outrage. The prosecution refuses to accept this decision. On what grounds? If these jurors are persuaded by some half-baked concoction devised by a pretender to real police work, then they are too ignorant to be trusted with the judgment of anyone's guilt. I'm sorry, Lord Von Zykes, but the outcome of the summation examination cannot be ignored. The trial will continue. Ugh. We found the vampire's weakness! So what now, Chief? Nevertheless, we find ourselves in a rather awkward situation. The defense has very reasonably requested the subpoena of a new witness. But sadly, I fear that will be impossible.
What?
The name the gentleman gave for himself, Edgar Benedict, is quite clearly false.
I don't believe it. Just when I managed to prove the man was there that night.
Could I say something? Who was that, please? Who spoke?
It was me, my lord.
Juror number 5? What have you say, madam?
If possible, Inspector.
Me, madam?
I wonder if you might show the photographic pic to me again, the one in which gentleman is shown?
Right, yes, this one you mean? Mr. Benedict?
Yes, there's no doubt in my mind.
Juror number 5? You don't mean to say you know this man?
Yes, I know him.
What? No. Good gracious. Order, order. Juror number 5, how on earth?
I am communications officer, stop. As we can clearly see. The gentleman photograph is stop. Also a communications officer, stop. He works in my office, stop. A very talented operator, in fact, stop. He should be in the communication station now, stop. Tapping away on the telegraph, stop. This doesn't seem right somehow. I can't put my finger on why, but it doesn't feel right. I suppose we all imagine the accomplice would be some sort of hardened criminal. It's a bit unexpected to find out that he has a respectable job by day, whatever he gets up at night. Yes, I suppose that's it. I suppose that's why I felt something was wrong.
If the gentleman is at London's communication station, should be able to subpoena him with that within the hour. Lord Von Zykes, if you please? Yes, my lord. Make the necessary arrangements with all haste, as your lordship bids. The court will recess for 1 hour. When the new witness arrives, we shall reconvene to hear the gentleman's testimony. Inspector Gregson? Yes, my lord. I should like to hear from you specifically about the events at the pawnbrokery at the day in question. Come to my chambers during the recess. Yes, sir, my lord. Very well. Court is adjourned until 1:40 p.m.
Can we go into break already? Alright then. Well, that will end the episode right here. Like, comment, subscribe. Chronicles 69, signing out.